With 2025 being halfway gone, I wanted to kind of go through what I've read so far, and I was gonna like just review them, but then I'm like, I read 34 books. That's too many to do like reviews on in one video. So we're just gonna do a tier list, make it a little fun. I've got my list of books here. We're gonna go in order of when I read them. I actually recorded this like a week ago and it didn't go well. I recorded it like my previous videos where I'm just sitting in front of the bookcase, and the whole time my light was just shining, like because I was wearing my glasses. It was just reflecting off my glasses, so it looked like I just had these two shiny big eyes, and it looked awful. So I thought, you know what? Let's switch it up. Come to the desk, use the webcam, and do a tier list for you guys. So we're going to go ahead and jump right on into that. Okay, starting off in January, we read 3 books, and the first one was Wind and Truth by Brandon Sanderson. I'm putting that S tier, plain and simple. It was a good, not a finale. I mean, it's kind of a finale. It's a finale of arc 1 of 2. I really enjoyed it. I know it's kind of controversial whether it's good or bad, but I thought it was good. So I'm leaving it at S. Shadow of Kyoshi. I'm a big Avatar fan, and I've been wanting to kind of get through the other like canon books and comic books and everything. I've only made it through 2 of them. I read the first one last year and the second one earlier in January. I'm putting that at B tier. Not because it wasn't good. It was great, but based off of other books on this list, as you can see down there, it's hard to kind of rank that in the same category as like Bloodsworn or the Cosmere. The rating is like relative to the rest of what I've read, right? So it was still great. I think I gave it a 4. And then we had Ninth House by Lee Bardugo. This book is really good. I thoroughly enjoy it. It was a bit different. I had just come off a massive like Cosmere reading binge. And so when you have like a whole year of nothing but epic fantasy after epic fantasy, coming back into more of an urban fantasy setting was actually really fun. It was nice to slow down the pace a little bit instead of doing like all this crazy epic stuff that Sanderson was doing. So that's going to go into A tier. Going into February, sorry, I'm not used to webcam work, so I keep looking back at the screen versus, so sorry if I look like I'm speaking off into the distance to someone else at times. Anyways, into February, I read 4 books, starting off with the sequel to Ninth House, Hellbent. That one's also A tier. I mean, for the same reasons that Ninth House is. And we'll go ahead and put it... Can I move it? Can I move it back? Okay. Yeah, I'm going to put it just slightly ahead of Ninth House. It was really good. There's a lot of these books that I can't say much without just spoiling them, and I don't want to do that to you guys. So if you like an urban fantasy, you like a, kind of a spirit world where there's, maybe some demonic stuff going on, but secret societies, dark academia, check it out. The next 2 were Legends and Lattes and Bookshops and Bone Dust. I read them back to back. Really fun. I'd never read cozy fantasy before, so this was a really nice change of pace as well. I put both of those at B tier. Again, same reason as Shadow Kyoshi. Like they're all great books, but compared to what the rest of the list, I can't really give it higher than that. And these books really did make me consider like starting to read more cozy fantasy. I haven't gotten around to that just because my TBR is so vast, and everyone on TikTok keeps suggesting like new books to read, and that's already screwed up my TBR even more. So maybe someday, but these did get me interested in wanting to read more cozy fantasy. The last book I read in February was Cassandra Clare's Swordcatcher. This was her debut, or not debut. That's not what I meant to say. It was her first adult fantasy novel. I've been reading Cassandra Clare since like 2008. I've read all the Shadowhunter books. I've got them all on the shelves back there. So I was really excited to see her dip into, more high fantasy setting. I really enjoyed it. This was actually a reread for me. I read this when it first came out back in 2023, but it was to prepare for the sequel coming out in the next month. I put this one at B tier as well. Like I said, it was great. I'm actually going to put it at the top of B tier right now. It was great. My only hang up with it was that I'm so used to her reading or her writing style being for a YA setting that when I was reading this, it was really hard to not view it that way, even though there were adult themes in it. And I think it felt a little off for me, at least the first go around. When I came back to reread it later, it was much better. That's why it's toward the top of B tier. But the sequel, which kicked off March, I would actually put it A tier. I enjoyed it even more because there was sprinkles of world building in the first one, and then in the second one, she really starts to dive into like the lore of the world. It was just really fun to get to see her play around with a new setting and a new magic system, you know, creating all these new characters. And she did really well with it. So, and I'm really looking forward to when the third one comes out. The next book I read in March was, where's it at? Dungeon Crawler Carl. We're going to put that... Wait, where did I put Dungeon Crawler Carl? I'm sorry, I've got my pre-made list here. A tier. We're putting that... Why is it not going to the top? There we go. Top of A tier. Dungeon Crawler Carl is a fantastic book. This is another book that was like kind of refreshing. Like I hadn't experienced something like it before. It's absolutely wild. I know there's a lot of people out there that don't care for it just because the sense of humor in it can be a bit dark, can be a bit raunchy. But I love that shit. So this was really fun. If you're a fan of like video games or D&D, definitely check this out. This is the first lit RPG series I've read. I've been told that it doesn't get any better than this, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to read anything else, but we'll see. And then I read Shadow of the Gods. We put that also at A tier. If I could like stack Carl and Shadow of the Gods on top of each other, I would. Boy, that one's tough. I'm going to say I like Bloodsworn as a series better as a whole, barely. But I think for book ones, Dungeon Crawler Carl could be left on its own. Like, it's clearly the start of a series, especially where it leaves off. But just the... I don't know. This is tough. Like, this is going to be the first one that, like, really trips me up. As a start of a series, Carl is better. Barely. Like I said, I would stack them on top of each other if I could. And for those two, or I mean, honestly, you know, I read 4 books in March, and the first 3 were really great, specifically those 2. And then we ended March with trash. I'm sorry. I don't like bashing books just because I know that the authors that write them put like their heart and soul into these sometimes, and this just... Quicksilver was awful. Okay, hold on, why? Wait, I only have up to D tier. Why? Okay, it wasn't good. It was okay, what can I say that's more than just it wasn't good? It felt like she just rewrote ACOTAR, and I hate comparing books like that, especially when they're in like the same genre, because I know that a lot of authors don't copy each other, and it's just, you know, either great minds think alike, or, you know, they're both influenced by the same things, write things around the same time. But this one, it just, I don't know, it felt too much the same, like, points. Like, there's key differences clearly, but like there's too many things that are similar, and it's not my only complaint with it. Like, both of the main characters are insufferable. They suck. And it's not like they're both morally gray, or like he's just kind of an asshole in the beginning but he really likes her or whatever. Like, there's that, but like they're both just awful people. I was like, I don't care about a relationship between 2 assholes. You know what I mean? Some of the side characters were great. Like, I'll give it that. And I don't even remember. It's basically this guy's, like, if you've read ACOTAR, it's like this guy's Lucian. Like, he's like his right-hand man. And I feel bad for not remembering his name, because he was actually my favorite in the book. Other than that, like, this book kind of sucked. There's only one plot point that I actually kind of enjoyed, but I can't say it because it's a major spoiler. But I wish we could get another series with that same concept, just better. Anyways, on to what month? April. We're on to April. Okay, so we got through Carl's Doomsday Scenario. That is book 2 in the Dungeon Crawler Carl series. I put that at B tier. It was still good. I would say it's my least favorite Carl book, only because it felt like Dungeon Crawler Carl, it set up the series really well. And then this came in and felt like just more setup. Like different setup, but book 1 set up the premise of the entire series, right? And then book 2 comes in and then creates the certain plot lines. Like I said, it was still good, but it just felt like book 1.5, because they're still technically in like the tutorial levels, and it's not until you hit book 3 does it really take off. So like I said, I kind of view book 1 and 2 as like the same book, and then 3 through 7 are their own individual crazy stories. So if the worst book in your series is a B tier, it's great. And then I read Hunger of the Gods and Fury of the Gods. Both of these are going S tier. I'm going to put Fury of the Gods above Wind and Truth, which is wild because I'm a massive Cosmere fan. And I'll put Hunger of the Gods slightly below. Fury of the God, whoa, wait, what am I doing? Sorry. That's the wrong order. Hunger of the Gods is the best book in the Bloodsworn Saga. I don't know what I was thinking. Fury of the Gods was great. It was a very good finale, but everything that goes on in Hunger of the Gods, it's way more entertaining. And I can't say that. That'll spoil it. Okay, I'll just leave it at, like I've said with everything else so far, it's great. If you have not read Bloodsworn, go do it. It's a phenomenal series. It was my first series of John Gwynn that I've read, and I've added his other 2 series to my TBR. I'm reading The Faithful and the Fallen later this year, and then I'll probably do the other one sometime next year. But I mean, John Gwynn, he's now an auto buy author. Like if he's dropping a new book, I am buying it immediately. And then we'll take a little bit of a dip, and we're going to read The Poppy War. This one's going at C tier. This series, okay, well, let's stick with the first book. It was good. I hate the main character. And I if you can't give me a character I can really get behind, then I'm going to have a hard time getting behind the book. I tried to really separate my feelings toward the main character Rin from the rest of the story, and that's why it's at C tier. Because the story is good. I like the world that R.F. Kuang built. The magic system's really cool. I'm always down for magic kung fu. Following Rin's personal arc didn't interest me. I was more interested in the war itself, and she just wasn't the POV for me for this story. I know there are plenty of people out there that love her, that they love the series, and that's fine. For me, I wasn't connecting with her. I think I gave it a 3.5, maybe a 3.75 when I did my initial rating, and I would still stick with that. It's not bad. It's a good book, but it was just hard to really stick with it because I didn't care for the main character. And then we move on to Carl 3. Where did I put that? This one goes back up at A tier. We'll put it, oh, hold on. We're going to put it there. And it's really hard to want to put that there because all 3 of these right here, I mean, really the last 4, they're all really great books. And I would put them all together, and you can't really compare them because they are so different. Trying to compare dark academia, secret society at Yale University type of story with magic and all that, to trying to compare it to a video game world run by capitalistic aliens, and a guy is fighting minotaur type creatures on a crazy train. You can't compare those. It's impossible. So most of these, when I put one in a certain order, they're all stacked. You know, I'm not saying Carl is better than Ninth House because you can't compare those. But anyways, this is where book 3 is where the story really kicks off. I really enjoyed it. It's not my favorite of the series. Out of 7, this was like number 4 for me. So, you know, it was still good, but it's like right there in the middle. And then we get to the book that crushed me the most emotionally this entire year. And that was Sword of Kaigen. This is S tier. So here's the problem with this. I did a TikTok video where I talked about my top 5 reads of 2025 so far. Hunger of the Gods, Wind and Truth, and Sword of Kaigen were the top 3 books. And I prefaced, even though Wind and Truth was top, I prefaced it by saying those first 3 were all like tied, but I only put Wind and Truth at the top because I'm such a Cosmere fan. I would actually say that Sword of Kaigen is actually probably at the top. If I really think about it, it just made me feel all the feels, and I don't know. There was part of me that just didn't want to betray like Sanderson like that, but Kaigen is so good. If you have not read it, go do so now. It's got an amazing magic system, amazing character development, which it feels like nowadays there's so many books out there that just don't focus on like character work, and that's one of the most important things. And Emma Wong does amazing character work. Yeah, character, magic system, just the overall story in general. I mean, I can't say anything else without spoiling anything. I mean, because I went in completely blind. I did not know anything about this. I thought, nope, I can't say that either because that's a spoiler. Anyways, go read it. You're not going to regret it. That book was a 6 out of 5. There's a reason it's top of S tier. And then to end April, we read Carl number 4. That one's also A tier, and I'm going to put that right there. I liked it. I liked Feral Gods, Gate of the Feral Gods more than I liked the Dungeon Anarchist Cookbook. But it is not above Carl 1 or Shadow of the Gods. Now we're on to May. This is where the reading really kicks off because I did a reading challenge with my wife. Instead of doing how many books you could read, we went off of word count. So that way someone didn't read like 100 tiny little books and count them all and cheat. So we both read 13 books in the month of May, and you'll see right after this when we look at June, I got kind of burnt out. But to kick the month off, we read The Dragon Republic and The Burning God to complete the Poppy War trilogy. Both of those are C tier. I mean, the entire series is a C tier to me, and this could have easily been a B or an A if I liked the main character. Like if I could find a way to like learn to care. Like it's harsh saying that because I don't think it wasn't like the author did a bad job writing the character. I think she wrote the character exactly as she wanted to, but it's just my personal dislike of the character that I'm like, I don't care whether you get hurt or not. Like, I don't know. It feels harsh, but I'm not saying the book was poorly written. The book was great. I don't like the character. And that's the last thing I'm going to say about Poppy War. And then moving on, I completed the Dungeon Crawler Carl series with books 5, 6, and 7. We're gonna go. Where are we putting these? Okay, I'm tired of putting them in a certain order. We're just gonna. All of these are stacked. Okay, other than these first 2, everything is stacked. They're all equal. They're great. Butcher's Masquerade and Eye of the Bedlam Bride were very fun. I really liked Eye of the Bedlam Bride because of a certain, and I'm not going to spoil anything, but there's a certain mechanic he adds to the game that I personally really enjoyed. And then This Inevitable Ruin, book 7, is going at S tier. I like it. Ooh, we're keeping it at S, toward the bottom of S because all these others were so great, but it's 7, 1, 4, 3, 5, 6, and 2. I'll go 6, 5, and 2. Oh, shit. That's my order of the Dungeon Crawler Carl series in best to worst. Like I said, your worst book's a B tier. that's a solid series. And again, you can't say anything about it without ruining it, but or without spoiling it. I just I wish we had a solid release date on book 8 cuz I need the next one bad. Okay, moving on, still in May. We read Red Rising. We're going to put that B tier. Will it move? Red Rising was really good. It's a solid start to a series, but there were a few like minor things. I think pacing was a little weird, but I think this was his debut novel, so like that's understandable. That seemed to always be the problem with a first book is pacing, but that's okay. Your first book's a B, I call that a win. But this is a very solid start to a series. I would highly recommend. I just finished book 4. I would highly recommend you check it out, especially if you're someone who's wanting to get into sci-fi, but you're not ready to like really dive into the deep sci-fi stuff. This is a good in between because it feels more like a fantasy book just with a space setting. And those are always great for that in between from fantasy into sci-fi. Next up is Emma Wong's other book, Blood Over Brighthaven. We're going to put that at A tier. I really loved this one. Not as much as Sword of Kaigen. Sword of Kaigen is just unbeatable. But Blood Over Brighthaven is really good. It's got one of the more unique magic systems that I've ever read. And that's saying something when you've read the entire Cosmere and like each individual book has a completely different magic system. You think you've kind of seen or heard it all, and then Emma Wong comes out with this and you're like, okay, that's really cool. I love the concept. The story was really good. There are some serious and dark themes throughout this book, and M.L. Wong writes about those things in such a way that like it's not trying to make light of it or trying to like justify in any way, but just and not making it the whole point of her book, but using those as themes to drive the narrative and use it as a learning experience for the main character. And that was really nice because sometimes when you get those kind of serious situations, some people can't really write those well and they kind of fall flat. Not this one. M.L. Wong, I've only read 2 books and she's already an auto-buy author for me. Like anything she releases, I'm going to get. Definitely check out Blood Over Brighthaven. It is a different style. Like, you know, Sword of Kaigen, it's like a samurai type of story. Blood Over Brighthaven is like magic steampunk vibes. So just be prepared for that. And then to wrap up May, I read books 1 through 6 in the Murderbot series. And these are really good. There's only one more left that I haven't read. They're fun. They're short. They're about 150 to 200 pages a piece. That's how I was able to get through so many. I put them all at B tier. And they're all like kind of the same level of like, whoa, what is going on? They're all kind of the same level as like well written. If you need something to dip your toes into sci-fi, or you just need something small to like, you know, give yourself a break between one big book from another, this is a nice little just like episodic space adventure, and they're really neat. I only read 3 books in June. I got a little burnout, and reading book 2 and 3 of Red Rising, I was kind of slow going through them. I would say Golden Sun and A Morning Star are both A tier. Like I said, we're not doing orders anymore. Golden Sun is my favorite so far of the Red Rising series. And I'm only 4 books in. It's really the book that kind of kicked off the series into what it is. Like I said, Red Rising was good. Wasn't anything to write home about, but it was fun. And then you get to Golden Sun and it just kind of propels the series forward. And Morning Star was almost the same caliber. There was just a couple things that I wasn't 100% on. Like I said, Golden Sun, solid book. Definitely read Red Rising. I know that book 5 and 6, Dark Age and Lightbringer, are supposed to be pretty heavy and like emotionally devastating. And Dark Age is what I'm reading next. So I may disappear for a little bit depending on how emotionally damaging it really is. And then finally, we have The Witch King, or just Witch King, by Martha Wells, the same person that wrote the Murderbot books. Like I said, I really enjoyed Murderbot. I think they won her some awards. I forget which ones, but they were pretty notable awards. Witch King is not it. I hate saying that, especially because I really did like her other work. But it, how do I say this? A lot happened, but nothing happened, if that makes sense. You go through a about 400-page book where you go from bit to bit to bit, but it wasn't like anything big grabbing you. Like, you get halfway through and you're like, where's the hook? Right? Like, it starts off in the middle of the story, and then after each chapter you get like a secondary chapter called the past, and to give like context to what happened before. And the past chapters were actually more interesting. I was more interested in what happened in the past than what was supposed to be the main plot. But and it's very well written. Like, technically it's good writing, but it's not, I don't know, the story doesn't grab you. It's just as, it felt like someone wrote about, I don't know. It was weird. I've never experienced a book like that because I wanted to care. Like, I really did. But I got through like 80% of the book. I'm like, why am I still here? I've never experienced something like that before, and it sucked. I am putting it, why can't I grab it? Why can't I grab it? What's happening? Okay. I am putting it above, I am putting it above Quicksilver. Hold on. I hate that. But barely. Because Quicksilver, and this is the thing, is there's part of me that wants to put it under Quicksilver because I was actually excited to read Witch King. I had high hopes for it. I had no hopes for Quicksilver. I was going into that knowing I wasn't going to like it, which is okay. But I don't know. It was rough. We're just going to stack them on top of each other because I truly don't know which is worse. I'd say maybe the experience of Quicksilver was more fun because I was reading it along with my wife. So we were able to like talk shit about it together. Witch King, I had a buddy read it before me and he was just like, I'm going to hold my thoughts until you're done. So I was in it alone, just like, this is kind of bad. Thankfully, I've read 2 more books since then, and both have been really great. So we're back on an upward trajectory with the quality of books that I'm reading. So I'm really excited to finally be getting back into making YouTube content. I've tried doing it a few times, but I think the booktube side is going to kind of be my thing from now on. I'm excited to get to do this again at the end of the year to talk about my entire 2025 reading. The new goal is 60 books this year. It was originally 26, but clearly I've already blown past that. Thank you so much for watching. If you've read any of these and you have thoughts, if you think I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. I'd love to know your opinions, but make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.